Chronology is the science of arranging events in their order of occurrence in time. Consider, for example, the use of a timeline or sequence of events. It is also the determination of the actual temporal sequence of past events. Chronology is part of periodization. It is also part of the discipline of history, including Earth history, the earth sciences, and study of the geologic time scale. Related fields: chronology is the science of locating historical events in time. It relies upon chronometry, which is also known as timekeeping, and historiography, which examines the writing of history and the use of historical methods. Radiocarbon dating estimates the age of formerly living things by measuring the proportion of carbon-14 isotope and their carbon content. Dendrochronology estimates the age of trees by correlation of the various growth rings in their wood to known year-by-year reference sequences in the region to reflect year-to-year climatic variation. Dendrochronology is used in turn as a calibration reference for radiocarbon dating curves. Calendar and era. The familiar terms calendar and era concern two complementary fundamental concepts of chronology. For example, during 8th centuries the calendar belonging to the Christian era, which era was taken in use in the 8th century by Bede, was the Julian calendar, but after the year 1582 it was the Gregorian calendar. Dionysius Exiguus was the founder of that era, which is nowadays the most widespread dating system on Earth. Ab urbe condita era. Ab urbe condita is Latin for from the founding of the city, traditionally set in 753 BC. It was used to identify the Roman year by a few Roman historians. Modern historians use it much more frequently than the Romans themselves did. The dominant method of identifying Roman years was to name the two consuls who held office that year. Before the advent of the modern critical edition of historical Roman works, AUC was indiscriminately added to them by earlier editors, making it appear more widely used than it actually was. It was used systematically for the first time only about the year 400, by the Iberian historian Orosius. Pope Boniface IV, in about the year 600, seems to have been the first who made a connection between this era and Anno Domini. Astronomical era. Dionysius Exiguus Euro unregistered trademark Anno Domini era was extended by Bede to the complete Christian era. 10 centuries after Bede, the French astronomers Philippe de la Hire and Jacques Cassini, purely to simplify certain calculations, put the Julian dating system and with it an astronomical era into use, which contains a leap year 0, which precedes the year 1 but does not exactly coincide with the year 1 BC. Prehistoric chronologies. While of critical importance to the historian, methods of determining chronology are used in most disciplines of science, especially astronomy, geology, paleontology and archaeology. In the absence of written history, with its chronicles and king lists, late 19th century archaeologists found that they could develop relative chronologies based on pottery techniques and styles. In the field of Egyptology, William Flinders Petrie pioneered sequence dating to penetrate pre-dynastic Neolithic times, using groups of contemporary artifacts deposited together at a single time in graves and working backwards methodically from the earliest historical phases of Egypt. This method of dating is known as seriation. Known wares discovered at strata in sometimes quite distant sites, the product of trade, helped extend the network of chronologies. Some cultures have retained the name applied to them in reference to characteristic forms, for lack of an idea of what they called themselves. The Beaker people in northern Europe during the 3rd millennium BCE, for example. The study of the means of placing pottery and other cultural artifacts into some kind of order proceeds in two phases, classification and typology. Classification creates categories for the purposes of description, and typology seeks to identify and analyze changes that allow artifacts to be placed into sequences. Laboratory techniques developed particularly after mid-20th century helped constantly revise and refine the chronologies developed for specific cultural areas. Unrelated dating methods help reinforce a chronology, an axiom of corroborative evidence. Ideally, archaeological materials used for dating a site should complement each other and provide a means of cross-checking. Conclusions drawn from just one unsupported technique are usually regarded as unreliable. Chronological analysis, Several legendary sources tend to assign unrealistically long lifespans to prehistorical heroes and monarchs, if the number of years they're reported are understood as years of more than 340 days. Though chronologies formulated before the 1960s are subject to serious skepticism today, more recent results are more robust than readily appears to journalists and enthusiastic amateurs. Bayesian inference can be applied in the analysis of chronological information, including radiocarbon-derived dates. See also, Notes. References, Hegewisch, D.H., and Mausch, J. Introduction to Historical Chronology. Burlington, V.T. C. Goodrich. B. Tumanian, a Euro-OE measurement of time in ancient and medieval Armenia, a Euro Journal for the History of Astronomy 5, 1974, ppA 91 a Euro 98. Kazarian, K.A., a Euro-OE History of Chronology by B. E. Tumanian, a Euro Journal for the History of Astronomy, 4, 1973, PA 137, Porter, T.M., The Dynamics of Progress, Time, Method, and Measure. The American Historical Review, 1991. Further reading, published in the 18th-19th century, Weeks, J. E. The Gentleman's Hourglass. Or, An Introduction to Chronology. Being a Plain and Compendious Analysis of Time. Dublin, James Hoy. Hodgson, J., Hinton, J., and Wallace, J. An Introduction to Chronology containing an account of time. Also of the most remarkable cycles, epochs, eras, periods, and movable feasts. To which is added, a brief account of the several methods proposed for the alteration of the style, the reforming the calendar, and fixing the true time of the celebration of Easter. London, printed for J. Hinton, at the King's Arms in St. Paul's Churchyard. Smith, T. An Introduction to Chronology. New York, Samuel Wood. Published in the 20th Century, Keller, H. The Dictionary of Dates. New York, The Macmillan Company. Poole, R.L., and Poole, A.L. Studies in Chronology and History. Oxford, Clarendon Press. Langer, W.L., and Gorsk, H.W. An Encyclopedia of World History, Ancient, Medieval and Modern, Chronologically Arranged. Boston, Houghton Mifflin. Marmiano, A. Pagan and Christian Historiography in the 4th Century AD and A. Marmiano, ed., The Conflict Between Paganism and Christianity in the 4th Century, The Clarendon Press, Oxford, 1963, ppA 79 a Euro 99, Williams, N., and Story, R.L. Chronology of the Modern World, 1763 to the Present Time. London, Barry and Rockcliffe. Steinberg, S. H. Historical Tables, 58 BC AD 1965. London, Macmillan. Freeman Grenville, GSP Chronology of World History, a calendar of principal events from 3000 BC to AD 1973. London, Collins. Neugebauer, O.A. History of Ancient Mathematical Astronomy Springer Verlag. Bickerman, E.J. The Chronology of the Ancient World. London, Thames and Hudson. Whitrow, G.J. Time and History Views of Time from Prehistory to the Present Day. Oxford, U.A. Oxford University Press. Aitken, M. Science-Based Dating in Archaeology. London, Thames and Hudson. Richards, E.G. Mapping Time, The Calendar and History. Oxford University Press. Published in the 21st Century, Kozelek, R. Time and History. The Practice of Conceptual History. Timing History, Spacing Concepts. Palo Alto, Stanford University Press, 2002. Ronald H. Fritz A.L. Chronologies, Calendars, and Lists of Rulers. Reference Sources in History, An Introductory Guide. ABC Clio. ppA 4+. ISBN A978-0-87436-883-3 Daniel Rosenberg. Anthony Grafton. Cartographies of Time, A History of the Timeline. New York, Princeton Architectural Press. ISBN A9781568988637. Inconsistent citations. External links. Chronology 1911 Encyclopaedia Britannica, Regnal Chronologies, dating methods from past. Perfect.info at the Internet Archive. Access January 4, 2008. Dating the Past, Pragmatic Bayesians, a decade of integrating radiocarbon dates in chronological models from the University of Sheffield at the Internet Archive. Access January 4, 2008. Open Library. Works related to chronology, A General Chronology. Catholic Encyclopedia. New York, Robert Appleton Company 1913a.